Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning, YouTube and traders. It's a little darker here today. It's a little muggy in Bulgaria, but this is what we're working with. Good Monday. Hope everyone is having a great Monday. It's going to be the start to the week. We only have 2 trading days left in February. Then we get into March. And with that, right, let's make these last 2 days of February great. We've already had an amazing month at Trade Pro Academy in terms of profitability and trade ideas given to our community. They've outdone January by a lot, and we hope to continue this throughout the remainder of the year. So what we're going to be talking about today, good morning, MS. Good morning, everyone else. Today, what we're going to be talking about is um, a potential 4-day work week, right? There's not too much news. We're going to be talking also about Warren Buffett and a merger. So there's not too much news to talk about this week. This week we have uh, I think it's 5 Fed speakers, and they all come in, at the end of the week. I think one is at the beginning of the week, but the majority of them are at the end of the week. Let me just make sure here. Um, we have, we don't really have much, and yeah, we only have, what's it called? We have a few Fed speakers this week, and that's about it for the week, and then we come into March, and then the non-farm payrolls are actually going to be the second Friday this month. So it's going to be on March 10th. And then we have like CPI and whatnot. We have more news into the next weeks of March, more so than this week. This week's going to be a little more bland with the Fed speakers. Some of them even coming out at the end of the session, right at 4 and 5 p.m. So not too much to worry about there. So news side, not too heavy. I'm going to talk about the order flow and technical aspect of the market, what had happened on Friday, and what we could see from that, what we had already done overnight, the analysis that we had provided yesterday, and what we're looking for to start the week. So before we get into that, let's just go over this quick news here. The world's largest trial of 4-day work week has wrapped up, with nearly 3,000 employees in the UK taking part of a 6-month pilot, right? Among the findings were better work-life balances, fewer sleep problems, drops in burnout and quitting rates, and even revenues and increased have increased modestly. So, in fact, of the 61 companies that took part of this trial, 56 are continuing to implement the 4-day work week, 18 of which will be permanent, while 2 firms are extending the trial and only 3 are going back to their previous schedules. The program was a major collaboration spanning nonprofit 4-day week global and the 4-day week campaign in the UK, and the think tank anatomy. So some of the history behind this: in the US, Henry Ford is largely credited for standardizing a 5-day 40-hour work week. In 1926, he shortened the then previous 6-day work routine without reducing employee pay, saying we can get at least as great production and probably greater. Later in the 1930s, Franklin D. Roosevelt signed the Fair Labor Standards Act, which was subsequently amended to a 40-hour work week, a standard after which overpay time applies. Then years later, in 1956 speech, then VP Richard Nixon forecast a 4-day work week would happen in the not so distant future. So this is what we're kind of moving towards right now. Over this whole trial, you should say, on Wall Street, market participants are also weighing the latest findings and considering whether a 4-session trading week would work in the financial markets. So this weekend, there was a podcast on it. Naturally, they talked about that, blah, blah, blah. But this would benefit those on the West Coast who see the regular market day close around lunchtime. So pre-market and after-market sessions already take place on the electronic communications network, but a move towards amending the 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. schedule of the New York Stock Exchange and the Nasdaq could lead to greater visibility, increased volumes, and liquidity while reducing volatility and risk. So maybe we'll see how that shapes up. So that's something interesting. One of the major news points that we have so far. Also, Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, right? Something that we have to talk about. While many are still debating the Berkshire Hathaway's operating earnings from 2022, one thing is clear: the Oracle of Omaha is sitting on a record amount of cash. The investment giant, led by Warren Buffett, held $128.7 billion of cash in short-term securities at the end of Q4 versus $109 billion on September 30th. So that's even with the companies acquiring um, in the last quarter of 2022. So Buffett also had something to say to those critical about stock buybacks. When you are told that all repurchases are harmful to shareholders or to the country, or particular benefits to the CEO, you are listening to either an economic illiterate or a silver-tongued uh, I don't even know what that word is. But anyways, he wrote in the annual letter to shareholders. So again, stock buybacks, we saw that with Meta. Meta had a $40 billion stock buyback plan announced during the earnings period, which had a very massive upside move in regards to the name, even with kind of flustered earnings. But you might have a point there. We'll see how this shapes up. Realistically, having a lot of cash on hand in this current market environment is probably one of the wiser things to do. Also, merger Monday, Pfizer is set to negotiate to acquire cancer-focused biotech Seagen after talks fell apart with Merck on a deal that would have been worth about $40 billion. However, these discussions are still in the early stages, and a number of hurdles would need to be overcome. So that's something that we could look at. Pfizer and Seagen, ticker symbol SGEN. And in terms of some other news, we have pending home sales today, and then we have Dallas Fed manufacturing survey. We also have UNP, United Pacific, looking for a new CEO amidst activist pressure. CEO stepped down. Stock is up about 10%. Some other news, nothing too crazy going on right now, but let's take a look at the markets, right? Because the markets are in an interesting move right now. This is going to be very important for what's going on. Because on Friday, what had happened is that we got a very substantial move from the huge level which came into multiple consolidations. So, or sorry, multiple confluences, I should say. So 3950 on the S&P 500 futures was a huge level where there was a lot of confluence, a 200-day average, some fib levels, blah, blah, blah. 200-day average after we broke above it, trying to hold it out. What had happened at that area in terms of order flow, we talked about this a lot. I even posted on Twitter. There was mass absorption, shorts getting extremely stuck at those lows. So all these shorts accumulating, absorbing at the lows, which generated a very strong buy stop run into the end of the day, which was expected to continue throughout today, right into the earlier session. And it happened really aggressively overnight, up about 40 points in the overnight session as it stands right now. And that's what we were talking about, looking to hold that 74 area. So if you want analysis like this, you got to check out our market analysis lives, which are posted on Sundays. But we were looking for that 74, 75 region to hold out to see if we can get that extended run into 3990. That is the top of the distribution block. Now, I was expecting to see some kind of hold at that area, but prices leapfrogged above that, and we actually hit about 4015, which is in and around an area, right? 4010s, 4012s. That's an area that I'm looking at to shape up some kind of resistance coming into these sessions. So that's something that you have to watch out for. But very strong rally here pre-market. We're going to see how this thing shapes up. We're above a distribution block 3990. I was expecting to see some kind of rally based off of that key support zone that was tested aggressively and massive order flow at those lows. Right now, the bears, if you're looking for a bearish move, realistically, I would say price would need to be below the 3990, right, for that continued leg to the downside. As long as they hold the 412s or maybe the 4024s, I think 4024s is like the last chance, in my opinion, in that area, plus or minus a few points, is the last chance for these bears to actually take this and try to run back down. Otherwise, we're coming into different distribution blocks where price would gravitate naturally to the upside. So what I'm looking at this morning is to see if the 96, 98 region holds for bullish side if we pull back into that area to see if this bull run continues, right? I'm still looking at the 90 as the pivot area. You start failing below that, obviously there's going to be a lot of short pressure. I still think a lot of people, or a lot of people are expecting a bounce, especially off that 200-day. So the pain trade this week is to the downside if this thing flushes. I think that's where a lot of people lose after expecting such a strong bounce off that area. So that's something to consider. I'll look at the mid 20s, see if there's a short potential in there. But right now, I do want to keep a little more to the bullish side today. Unfortunately, markets ran really aggressively throughout the overnight session. So looking for pullbacks, right? It might be a little overbought, seeing some kind of sell side try to come into this. You take the levels, take them into consideration. We're above distribution blocks. I would lean a little more to the bullish side, but cautiously. That's what I'm starting off this Monday with, right? Try and take this step by step and see where we go from here. So I hope everyone has an amazing trading day. I hope you're excited to kick off this Monday, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. So remember, check out TradeProAcademy.com. We got the new futures course that is coming out very, very soon, where we talk about order flow, how to actually trade these markets, the futures, the correct way. So I hope to see you guys in the community.tradeproacademy.com, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.